Tell me why.
Welcome back to Hafeman Brothers Talking Packers. Here for our fourth episode. We are glad to be back, but it finally happened. The Packers did lose a game, and we're going to spend some time talking about it. But we'll get through it. I promise. All right, Ben, how we doing this week?
I'm tired.
Tired of what?
Well, we're going to save that for later when we do the Ben rant.
Oh,
right
yes.
now, I don't want to get into that.
That's exciting. We're debuting some new things here to the show this week, and we're pretty excited about that. Now, again, hey, if you're giving us feedback, we're listening. We are listening. So remember to subscribe. I was told again by some the youth of America who are really in tune with all this stuff that you got to ask for the subscriptions. You got to ask to subscribe. Smash the like button. Comments are also very important, I've heard. So those are all things that we're asking of you, and we're here to listen. We listen. One thing was said that we need to bring in the Ben rant, which you brought up, and some other people, and I brought that idea to them. They were excited about that. Classic rants that they remember from you, so that should be fun. And then another thing people asked about was trying to maybe come up with a few more segments, and people like the play breakdown. And so that's one, too, that I think we're going to continue. Off the top, before we jump into the game, now we both got to watch the full game this week, right?
Yep, I watched the entire game. It was sad.
And you watched it on your phone, right? You free phone football? Just like
free phone football.
Free phone football.
That's right. I watched the entire game on my phone.
You called me, and you were hot after the game. If we would have done a show right after the game, that might have been an interesting one. But I thought we should probably let things cool down a little bit before we recorded our program. And so we did exactly that. Or the entire show may have been a Ben rant. All right, so off the top, I was kind of thinking of this as I was watching the game. And I thought there were some exciting plays. I was like, really excited that made me stand up. And then there was a play that got me really excited, but didn't quite finish the way I'd hoped. So it was kind of like, I was really excited. And then I said, come on, man. And then maybe they would drop the man. That's already coined. So we just like, come on. And then there was a play that happened where I just said, WTF. So I wanted to come up with 3 plays from the game from each of us, if we can come up with it. And maybe we're going to have the same plays. Maybe we're going to have some overlap. But I want a play you're really excited that got you out of your chair, that's standing up. Then another play that got you excited but didn't quite finish the way you'd hoped. And then a play that happened that you just said, what in the world is going on here? So, are you ready?
There's a lot of those.
Yeah, I know. So we got plenty to choose from this week. My play was right at the end of the first half when the Packers only took over the ball with 59 seconds to go, and they started attacking the seam. And Aaron Rodgers sneaks out of the pocket to the right and finds Geronimo Allison in a crowd. He went up high to catch it. They needed a first down there. He went up high, grabbed it between 2 defenders, got crunched, but hung on, and that play got me up out of my chair. That was an exciting play.
That was the one I was going to do.
Dang it. I left you a few.
That's the best play of the game. That play, because that was exactly what I said last week, was that's what we need Geronimo for, because he can go get the ball. He did it week 4 with a touchdown catch where he jumped up and grabbed it. That play was the same thing. So I'll take the very next, I don't know if it was the very next play or maybe it was 2 plays later, or it's very similar. Rodgers was back in the pocket. He got pressure on him. He moved up into the pocket and threw a laser to the end zone. And even though Jimmy Graham was standing right next to Geronimo for some unknown reason, Geronimo jumped up and grabbed that for a touchdown. So we'll take both those 2 Geronimo plays as the crazy awesome plays. So a very, very, very close one could be what I think you're going to make your next play be.
So my next play that got me really, really excited, but took me on that roller coaster of emotions because it didn't quite end the way I would have hoped. also was a big play for me in fantasy because I was thinking about Davante Adams. It was that great pass up the right sideline that Aaron Rodgers threw a perfect ball right to Adams, right in stride. And he's running. Looks like he might get there to the end zone. And he's getting close, and I'm get up out of my chair, and I'm like, oh, yeah. And then he gets tripped up, and I'm like, no, man, so close. But he couldn't quite make it. And at that time, I was thinking, man, that's a 40-plus yard touchdown, which is bonus points. That's a touchdown with Davante Adams. Does not have a touchdown reception yet this year. And I was super excited, and then just a little bit let down at the end.
Hey, I was excited about that play because then I got an Aaron Jones touchdown for my fantasy football team. But I'm still going to probably lose this week, the Weasel, because for some reason Blake Martinez had 25 tackles, and I don't want to get into that. So I'm going to change it up on you here. My play is actually going to be a play that I was like, oh, gosh, no, don't. And then I was, okay. See?
All right.
So it's a little bit different.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's fine. As long as you have a mixed reaction to the play one way or another. Go ahead.
This is going to be I think it's the last touchdown that Rodgers threw. There's another play where he's getting pressure and he moved around a little bit and he came up and he threw the ball. And I was like, sweet, he's throwing the ball. And then I looked and I was like, oh, no, it's Jimmy Graham. Oh, gosh, please. God, no, not Jimmy Graham. But then he actually caught it and went into the end zone for like a 1 yard. He caught it at like the 1 yard line and then got in the end zone for a touchdown. Then I was like, whoo, all right. But at first I was like, please don't throw to Jimmy Graham because he can't catch. But he actually caught it. So I was like, awesome.
He did have more catches this game, but he had more opportunities to have even more catches, and it would have been nice if he came up with a few more of those.
Well, that's the other thing is if we want to do a play where it's like, yeah, and then, oh, my gosh, that would be the fourth down play where Rodgers running around like a crazy person, throws in the back of the end zone. You see Jimmy Graham go up with one hand for some reason, and you're like, yes, touchdown! He dropped.
Yeah. And I will say it. Yeah. We didn't see him enough, but Robert Tonyan had a great hands catch on a first down hands catch on a low ball and in traffic, and that's the guy I want. I'm glad Jimmy Graham had a nice productive game and there's a decent stat line and all that good stuff. But if I'm throwing the ball to somebody that's a tight end, that's not Davante Adams, primarily, maybe Geronimo in some cases or MVS in some cases, although there's still some question marks with those two. I wanted to go to Bob Tonyan, man. That guy has great hands, and he's fast, and he's bigger. He's a bigger target. So get me some Bob Tonyan. Okay, finishing this point. My WTF, my play that I just said, what in the hell are you guys doing? There's also my play breakdown this week. That's kind of exciting, isn't it? How that goes together. Before I get into that, though, I have to say one quick thing about the show. Some of you know that I used to do radio. I did play-by-play for a number of years and also did some long-format sports talk. And I've done some other things since then as well with some of the podcasting I've been doing and things like that. And this show has just been a lot of fun to start up. It took us a little while to get it going and to actually just take that leap and do it. But I mean, this show's a lot of fun for me. So hopefully you're having fun along with us. All right, back to my WTF. Okay, it's 2nd and 6. The Packers are in a formation where Mercedes Lewis is a tight end on the right side in a tight trips, and he's set just back behind the line of scrimmage. This is getting back to what didn't make sense that they did against the Bears, but they tried it again here this week against the Eagles, and this play did not work out. So we'll advance. Lewis is coming from right to left, and he is, this time in this particular play, the line is completely shifting right, and Lewis is supposed to come across the formation and block the left defensive end, who is completely unblocked. So as we advance the play, you can see him starting to make his formation across. Now, the other part about this play that made it not work is that there's dual run actions here, or 2 run fakes happening, and it's supposed to set up a deep pass play, which they did say, the Packers did say that Marquez Valdez-Scantling was open on the play, but they didn't have time to get the ball to him. But you can see Aaron Jones is going to come up and get the run fake going right, and Geronimo Allison is faking the sweep back the other way. Now, this challenge here with this play is that Mercedes Lewis is coming straight down the line. And when coaches draw plays like this up, they're expecting those free rushers or those guys that are unblocked to be in a certain spot. And so is the player making that pull block. And normally, if it was just a run fake going to the right to the running back and you didn't have Allison coming across the formation on the other side, that defensive end might crash down for that run fake and go right into Lewis's block and make it an easier block for him. However, that player also has outside contain. So when he sees the receiver coming over, he naturally has to stay more outside and come more upfield, which makes Lewis's block much more difficult and ultimately allows that player to get around him and get to Aaron Rodgers. As we advance this, you can see right now Lewis is in trouble. He is trailing Barnett, the defensive end, at the moment, and Aaron Rodgers is carrying out his fakes and then going to set up to throw the pass. But Lewis is trying to get there, but he just cannot get there. And again, by adding that receiver run fake, it made that block for Lewis harder, and it naturally had that defensive end react to that sweep coming back the other way. And then you know what happened after that. Strip, fumble, Eagles recovery. So, what do we learn from this? We learn that tight ends should not be pass blocking defensive ends. And we also learned that when you have so much action happening, you actually can create more issues for your players and make their job more difficult.
The other thing that doesn't make sense on it, when you do a play like that, and it's going to be a pass play, by taking Mercedes Lewis, Aaron Jones, and Geronimo, and keeping them all in the backfield on a fake handoff, a fake reverse, and a block, that takes 3 out of your possible 5 receiving options out of the play. But what it also does is gives the defense more guys to defend with. I think they dropped 6 on that play. So they have 6 guys to cover 2 receivers. Because when you watch that play, if you play it in regular time, it takes forever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's long. Like, that ball should have been, like, as soon as Rodgers is ready, he should be gone. Ball should be gone. But because there's so many free defenders, I think that's why he had to hold it a little bit longer, then step up again, and then get ready to cock the ball. And by that point, then the defensive end was already, jumping at him and lunging for the ball.
I just think at times, I get that they want to make things look the same and do all this stuff and try to get people, off balance. But when you're letting a guy go, when you're, it's so much different than if someone's engaging and slowing that guy down, at least with a chip or a quick hit, and then they shift right or something. But when that defender is completely free, it doesn't take, if they're going full speed and they're going to get upfield, that block for a guy coming, especially a tight end coming from right to left, that block is very difficult. And if you're even one step out of position like Lewis got, that guy's got the corner on you. And if he gets the corner on you on a very deep drop play, he's at the quarterback. Basically, all he has to do is turn that corner, and he's right where the quarterback is. So there's my play breakdown and my WTF all in one shot.
You are efficient, man. Efficient.
Trying to be.
All right, so my WTF is not quite as complicated as that. It is the second Eagles touchdown. When you look at it from the Packers defense, for some unknown reason, the Eagles' backup tight end, I don't remember what his name is, I think it's number 88.
Goddard?
He is lined up in the slot on the right side of their offense. Jair Alexander is on the outside covering whoever the outside receiver was on that play. I think it was Jeffrey. And that backup tight end is in the slot and there's nobody on him. Not only that, there's no safety in the middle of the end zone. So, like, no one kind of backing up anything here. And there are, like, 5 Packers all on the right side of the defense or the left side of the offense, whoever you want to do it, all standing around with Blake Martinez, the closest guy. And then Will Redmond catches it, and he runs over to get in front of Goddard right before the ball snap. And Carson Wentz catches it in shotgun, takes one hitch and throws slant to Goddard, who's wide open in the end zone, with nobody in the middle of the field to help out as safety help or anything to take away the slant. Blake Martinez is so far up, away from the play. Like, there's a good 10-yard area where there's no Packer, not a single one in the middle of the field. And the scariest part was it took him forever to even get somebody on that slot tight end. Luckily, Redmond saw it, or somebody saw it, and made Redmond go over there. But he had no chance, because as soon as he got over there, they hiked the ball, and, he couldn't stop him from doing a quick inside slant. Plus, the guy had like 6 inches on him. And I was just like, what is this crap? How are you in, an NFL game, you don't even have anybody covering tight end in the red zone? Like, no defense does that. I would have been like, call timeout. Like, as soon as you see that guy's there and there's no one covering him, call timeout immediately, whether it's Patton or LaFleur or anybody. They didn't do it. And then you expect Redmond to get over there and try to cover somebody with no safety help in the middle. It's terrible. It was ugly and it was dumb. It's like, here, have a touchdown, Eagles. That's what that was.
And in general, I mean, the defensive effort was not anything like we'd seen in the first 3 games. We were kind of wondering, we thought with the passing attack of the Eagles, we'd see more of that and see them attack them more. And the Eagles were efficient passing, but they decided to they ran the ball more than half the time, more than 50% of the time. And the Packers couldn't stop it. And this is something that everyone's going to try to do now. And Matt LaFleur even said it after the game, if we don't get this fixed, this is going to be every team's blueprint against us, is that they're just going to try to run it down the Packers' throats. And if they can do that and they're successful at it, then they take away the Packers' strength, which is their pass defense, which we thought. Although this last game against the Eagles, one thing you and I commented about, Ben, was there was not a single offensive holding call in the whole game. And I think the Eagles were very good at holding, because there was almost no pass rush and no pressure on Carson Wentz.
Well, I will say this. I will give a credit to Doug Peterson, okay? They didn't screw around with holding the ball for 25 years and trying to go for big plays. They didn't have any big plays in the passing game. All their passes were pretty, under 10, 20 yards. You know what I mean? They knew the Packers had good pass rushers, and they decided to call plays where guys are getting open right away and get the ball out.
I'm still kind of upset about this. I mean, I don't understand what the NFL is doing. Pass interference, and Matt LaFleur said it after the game. I don't know what pass interference is anymore. And I don't either. The other thing I don't understand is the NFL's overreaction. This isn't just about the Packers. They created this rule as an overreaction, which they've done a number of times in the last several years, where something happens, it's bad, and rather than living with the result of that, they make a new rule that's an overreaction to it. For example, when Tom Brady lost a whole season by getting his knee blown out by a low hit, then all of a sudden it was illegal to hit the quarterback below the waist or below the knee. Then you had Aaron Rodgers gets his collarbone broken. And then the very next year, we saw it last year with all of the things that happened. There's this new rule. You can't put your weight down on the quarterback when you tackle him. Well, they enforced that a couple of weeks, a couple of times that really impacted Packer games, and then they said, this is a mess. We're just not going to enforce it. So they create these rules to give themselves an out, to look like they're responding to a bad situation, but they're not even enforcing it. So why make the rule? Just live with the fact that you have humans officiating the game. There are going to be mistakes. There are going to be blown calls. And in that process, there are going to be some unhappy franchises and fans who are going to get screwed by some of those bad calls. Now, if you're not wanting to accept that and you want to make the games officiated perfectly by using replay, then do it right. Then say, this is our standard. We know it's going to result in slower play times. We know it's going to result in some delays in the games, but we're doing it because we want the calls and the plays to be right. And if you do that, then you have several pass interference calls in this Packer game, Eagles game that just took place. That is my rant. Sorry, I didn't want to jump on your rant, Ben, but that is my rant. I'll step down from it. But again, it's the NFL. Just overreacting to stuff to give themselves an out. Don't give me this clear and obvious. It wasn't clear and obvious. So that's your out when you don't overturn a call that is clear and obvious, that you can see, everyone can see watching it. But because you don't want to overturn it, you say it's not clear and obvious. Don't give me that. Come on, NFL. You got to be better than that.
I agree. I mean, it was pretty bad. When you see a guy on a touchdown play, even though it's away from the play, blocking downfield, and then you say, oh, nah, it didn't happen. Then you see a guy on the sidelines, 35 yards downfield, not turn around for the ball, hit the receiver before the ball gets there, and smack him in the face, and you say, it's nothing. And when you see a guy blatantly push a guy out of the play so that the guy he's supposed to cover gets the ball, make a touchdown, and you don't call anything, that's a problem. The Packers had one play where Kevin King got there like 1 millisecond early and pushed the guy's hand in so that he couldn't get two hands on the ball to catch it.
Yep.
And that should have been pass interference.
Absolutely.
Luckily, they didn't call it. I'm more upset with the Packers' run defense than I am with those calls. If the Packers could have just stopped the run a little bit. I mean, every time it was like 4 yards, 3 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, 12. I mean, they hardly ever stop them. Like, there's one play where somebody stopped somebody in the backfield on a run play. So if you can't stop the run, it don't matter how much help you get from the officials. You don't deserve to win, in my opinion. And I know I'm changing the subject with that, but it's like the penalties are one thing. You can't control it. You can overcome things, but when you can't figure out how to stop these guys that are just beating your butt the whole game, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that bothers me about that game. They still, that's the other thing, they still had a chance to win it.
Right.
Even on offense, when you're on the freaking 2-yard line and you call 4 passing plays in a row and none of them are complete, well, what are you doing? I know you couldn't run the ball worth of crap all game, but if you just line up your guys and have them run forward and run into the Eagles defensive line and just hand the ball to Aaron Jones, you're going to move the ball half a foot or half a yard every play. You're in the end zone. And Aaron Jones is good at squeezing and wiggling and spinning around and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. That's how he got his first touchdown in the game. I mean, they had a chance to score on that time. And then when they were down there the second time, they were down there. Or on fourth down, get the points. Then your defense holds them, you get the ball back, you got another chance. The Packers did enough things to shoot themselves in the foot that they should have won that game, even with the bad calls.
Players want to overcome that stuff. The Packers had opportunities to. There's so many things to talk about in this game. It's frustrating. There were a lot of frustrating things. Okay, I'm going to say this about the defensive run, the run defense, which is a problem. Now, we knew the Eagles had a good offensive line. Again, there was definitely some holding by both offensive lines that was not called. It just wasn't. They weren't calling holding in this game on the offensive lines. And whatever, that's fine. It's definitely harder as a defensive player to get away from that, but okay, you have to adjust and adapt. But there were specific plays where some of the blocking approaches by the Eagles where they would let a defensive end. So, the Packers play 3-4. So usually the outside linebackers are on the outside and the defensive ends are inside those outside linebackers. So they're kind of in that guard tackle gap, somewhere in that range. There were plays where they let the defensive end completely go, so unblocked, and they had one of those tight ends cracking back on him or crashing down for a block to really blow open a hole. And this play I'm going to pull up right now shows Dean Lowry in that same situation. Now, this happened multiple times in the game, but Dean Lowry coming through clean. Okay, look at this picture. He gets through the line of scrimmage. He's looking at the quarterback. He's looking at the running back. But I will tell you right now, if you play the defensive line and someone is not engaging with you right away, you have to know. It's your job to know someone's coming from either right or left. Someone's coming to get you. Your primary responsibility is maintaining your gap. But if we advance, the tight end's coming from his right, coming down on him. He's looking straight ahead, completely unexpecting it. And as I advance through the photos, he gets knocked to the ground and completely out of the play. And when you saw some of the really big holes, the really, really big ones, it was because of stuff like this. Because look, when he gets knocked down, it's a gaping hole in the Packers defense. And the other thing that happened here is the Eagles offensive line did a combo block. So the guy that let Dean Lowry go, the guard, helped the center block down and then peeled off and chipped off Blake Martinez. So he was sealed out of the play, and that's why it was a giant hole to get through and a huge gain running the football.
See, and I think the Packers are trying to do that same type of thing with their running game.
Exactly.
But the tight ends aren't getting there.
No.
To make the block. And then Aaron Jones is just getting his butt kicked in the backfield. And I don't know. So as a defense, how do the Packers stop this? How do they combat this? Because you know what? They're playing the Cowboys next. And the Cowboys have one of the best offensive lines in the league. They're going to watch the tape on this game and say, woo-hoo-hoo, Ezekiel Elliott, you're running all over the place.
Well, the good part about the Cowboys is it won't be as complicated because they have their main tight end is a guy who was retired last year and then came back to play, and he's not going to be cracking down on people like Dallas Goedert was or even Zach Ertz. So, I mean, the Eagles' tight ends are unique in that way that they're both very physical, both good in the passing game, but both very physical run blockers, and you can do that with them. That's why it doesn't work for the Packers either. Like Mercedes Lewis is a big guy, but he's an older big guy. So he's not coming with the same force that, these young guys are that are just as big. And Jimmy Graham has never been that type of blocker. You just don't have the same bodies. You don't have the same type of people, but you're trying to do the same thing, so it doesn't work as well. That's why, like you and I talked about, when the Packers do more of a straightforward blocking scheme, just a zone straightforward scheme, and people are just kind of moving together and going ahead, that works much better than when they're doing all these let guys go, crack down on them, pull, swing, kick out blocks, all that stuff. It doesn't work as same when you don't have, or doesn't work as well when you don't have the same personnel as, say, like the Eagles do. So how do they fix it? You asked that question. Sorry, I'm going to try to get back to it. At least with the Cowboys, it'll be more straightforward, but they have to maintain their gaps. You saw, well, if you remember, Mike Daniels is really good at this, where if he felt pressure coming, and Kenny Clark's really good at this with double teams too, where he'll actually anchor himself down and maybe even go down to one knee to hold his position when he's got guys coming at him from other directions that are trying to push him out. Because again, if you can at least maintain your gap and it's not so big, the running back sometimes isn't going to try to go through there, or they're going to try to look for a bigger opening. And as they string out the play, then you have guys that are coming off blocks that can come and get them and tackle them, hopefully in the backfield. So it's so crucial for those three inside guys to not get blown out of the hole that they're protecting. Or sometimes Mike Pettin will say they're actually asking those guys to maintain 1.5 gaps, which is a challenge. But as long as they don't get just bowled out of there, then you've got a chance. You and I were asking each other in texts about Jake Kumaro, and he was he was inactive this last game. It was because of a shoulder injury that he's had. So I was glad to at least know that it was an injury-related one and that they didn't have him inactive or just inactive because they need him. And I think they need to work him into the mix as soon as they can get him back to boost that offense, especially with Devontae Adams now with the toe. And not sure what's going to go on with all that because that was another big issue for the offense. I mean, when Adams, he was playing great. Rodgers was finding him a lot. He was open a lot, and then he goes down with that toe, and he couldn't even get back on the field. He was trying, but he just said he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. The toe was bugging him too much. He couldn't juke and cut and do the things he needed to and run the way he needed to, so he was not in after that injury. I don't know. There's so much to go on about this game, and we're going on quite a while about it. So hopefully, I mean, we all want to move on. I get it, but the offensive plays was another big one. Those goal-to-goal situations when they're that close. Man, why you don't just at least try to plunge it in? I'm not sure.
I think they were afraid that they couldn't run the ball on them because they couldn't. But now we're going to get into the Ben rant because this is the reason, and I brought this up after the Bears game, and I'm going to bring it up again now because this is the thing that bothers me more than anything in the world. And I understand why they're doing it because Matt LaFleur wants to run plays that look the same but are different. The problem is when you run a play that's a passing play, more often than not, your offensive line is not attacking the defense. They're either moving backward or they're moving laterally. So when you run a play that's a run play and also a pass play, and it can look like a run play or it can look like a pass play, the offensive line cannot go downfield if it's a pass play. They have to stay within 1 yard of the line of scrimmage. Therefore, when they do these plays that look like each other, but they end up being a pass or they have the same formation, it looks exactly the same, all the movements the same, but then it's a run, all this kind of stuff, the offensive line cannot be aggressive. They cannot move forward. They are only moving laterally or backwards, one or the other. When that happens, they become the passive unit. They become the reactory unit. The defense becomes the aggressive unit because they're moving downfield. And when you move sideways and somebody's moving forward, and they hit on your inside shoulder or whatever it could be, they're penetrating into the backfield every time. And that's why when you watch Aaron Jones this last game, he gets the ball. As soon as he gets the ball, he's getting creamed. Because all the offensive linemen of the Packers are moving laterally instead of attacking the defense. And I understand he wants to run these plays that look like this and look like this, but they're totally different. Okay, that's great. It sounds like it makes a lot of sense. But when your offensive line can't hold up against this attacking defense, you need to change. You need to do something differently. And they did that against the Vikings. They attacked. They moved forward. And offensive linemen usually like that. They usually like to be aggressive. They like to smack you. And the Packers in this entire game against the Eagles never smacked anybody. They did not move forward. They did not attack the defense. They were all passive. And the Eagles went right after them. And they weren't even worried about it. They were just sitting there attacking and looking in the backfield on first down every time because they would run it on first down and then run it on first down. And they ran it on first down. Hey, guess what? They're going to run it on first down. Hey, I think they're going to run on first down. Oh, yeah. Then they ran it on first down. Everybody knew it. And not only did they know it, they attacked it. And the Packers were too passive. And Aaron Jones got his butt kicked. And my fantasy football team sucked because of it. And I'm sick of it. Dang it. My fantasy football team should be better than that. Okay, so it's fantasy football. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What is going on? How can Aaron Jones go from 5.5 yards a carry for his first 2 seasons in the NFL to this? I'll tell you how. He's got nowhere to go. And I'm getting sick of it. Because all it's doing is leading them into, guess what? 2nd and 12, 2nd and 11, or whatever it is. And then if that play doesn't work, because it's going to be a pass play, or it could be a run play for nothing, because everybody knows that they're going to run, then the next thing you know, it's 3rd down and 12, or it's 3rd down and 10. And then that's not going to happen, because then Rodgers gets creamed, and nobody's blocking, and he's got to run around and do stuff. Now, later on in the game, he was avoiding the rush, moving up in the pocket, and drilling the ball, and it was awesome. And Rodgers had a great game most of the time. But the run game has got to be fixed. This can't happen. And it's simple. You just go and drive off the ball. Let Aaron Jones find the hole and move. If you want to do a couple cutback or crackback blocks, moving a guy over and having him go in motion to hit a guy on the outside, fine. That's great. But at least have the other guys move forward and attack instead of having them move laterally. Because if they move laterally, the defense penetrates and the play gets blown up. And it happened, I don't know how many times in this Eagles game. It was driving me nuts. That's all I can do. I'm not as mad as I normally would be because I'm so tired. Your rant was better than my rant today. You win the rant. You win. You win the rant.
The one thing you hope from all of this is that they take an honest look at all of it. Now, they got a little extra time with the few extra days, and they really evaluate it, and they figure out, you know what? This is what's working. This is what's not working. Let's move forward, do more of this offensively, do more of this defensively, and maybe even just simplify some stuff. Because if these guys that are on that offensive line and the blocking unit and the receivers haven't done this stuff before and it's not their forte, then let's not try to get them to do that. Let's not McCarthy them. All right? Let's do what they're good at.
Yeah, but they were running the ball last year.
Yes, but it was different. They have receivers. They have receivers cracking down on defensive linemen and outside linebackers in this offense. Those receivers, they're not good at that. I mean, Jake Kummerow maybe could hold up against it and Alan Lazard, but I mean, do you want Devontae Adams cracking down on defensive ends and outside linebackers? No, I want Devontae Adams catching the ball. And I want him blocking little guys. Okay? And just go tie up that little corner. That's what I want Devontae Adams doing. And MVS, he's tall, but he's not big and strong. So, same thing with him. I don't know. And if Adams misses time because of this toe thing, Valdez-Scantling, he's got some strengths. He's fast. That's great. He's tall. That's great. He does not have strong hands. Okay.
Hey, he had a great catch, though.
He
that
does.
Ball that was thrown behind him.
Yes.
On
I
the
agree.
last drive, that was an awesome catch. That was a great catch. It was drilled behind him, and he reached back, grabbed it, and that was a good catch.
True. The thing he doesn't do with his size, though, is really attack the ball.
No. And
so right now, the only guys you have that attack the ball are Adams. Geronimo will attack it, even though he's slow and not that strong and whatever, but he'll attack the ball. He'll jump up and go get it. And Robert Tonyan.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Graham, for whatever reason, will go up with one hand. I don't know why. He was sitting back at the end zone by himself. Go with two hands. They're big. Those hands are big. Go get that thing.
You know, Pat McAfee used to be the punter for the Colts for a while there.
Okay.
He's kind of a loose cannon, wacky guy. He's got a podcast thing, too, that he does. And he was talking about this week. They were mentioning that Jimmy Graham, only raised one arm or whatever. And he was talking about the rookie year for Austin Collie. I don't know if you remember Austin Collie. He was like a slot receiver or something for the Colts. Back when they had they had Reggie Wayne, and I don't think Marvin Harrison was there anymore, but they had Pierre Garçon, and they had a whole bunch of awesome guys. And Dallas Clark, I think, was there at the time. So they had a whole bunch of good receivers, right? And Austin Collie was on the team. And it was his rookie season, and him and Pat McAfee were kind of good buddies, right? And there was a play. They were in a game, whatever it was, and they were winning by a lot. Austin Collie goes out for a pass. Peyton Manning throws it to him. It's a little bit further away than what he kind of has to reach for it. And he reached out with only one arm, and it just hit his fingertips and went out of bounds, incomplete. And then Austin Collie starts jogging back to the huddle, and Peyton Manning just looks at him and points to the sideline. So then Austin Collie's like, okay. So then Austin Collie starts walking to the sideline, or jogging to the sideline. And then Jim Caldwell's like, what are you doing? You're out there. And then Austin Collie's like, no, I'm not. And then Jim Caldwell's like, get out there. So then Austin Collie goes back out to, moving toward the huddle. Peyton Manning turns around, looks at him, points him back to the sideline. It makes him go back to the sideline. Okay. And then all of a sudden, then somebody else had to come in, like the third or the fourth string receiver had to come in then, because Peyton Manning's like, get out of here. if you're not going to go all out for the ball, I don't want you on the field right now. So whatever happened, they went in. They didn't score a touchdown, but they kicked the field goal or something. So while Pat McAfee is out holding for the extra point, he comes back to the sideline after, and Austin Colley's sitting on the bench, way on the bench, all by himself. So he goes over and by him, and he's like, "Hey man, it's okay. I mean, what's wrong with you, man? Like, we've got a huge lead. We're doing great. It's just a drop. It's just a pass. You couldn't caught that. There's no way you could have caught that." He's like, "That's not it. Peyton just told me that if I don't, he's like, he doesn't want to see me ever try to catch a ball with one hand ever again. And if that ever happens, he would never throw me a ball my way ever again." And it's like, what? And then Pat McAfee's like, "That's when I knew Peyton Manning was savage, and it was his team," and all this kind of stuff. And that's the kind of thing. And then he went on and he said, "But I don't think Aaron Rodgers could do something like that with Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham is a household name who's been around for years and years and years. It's not like a rookie like Austin Collie was, where Peyton Manning was like, 'Hey, either reach for that ball with two hands or I'm not throwing you the ball anymore.' With Aaron Rodgers, if anything, he's been trying to throw the ball to Jimmy Graham more than he probably should, especially in this last game." But that was just a story that he said that, the difference between, like, when you watch Peyton Manning, he was in charge of all that crap. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't take anybody's crap. He did whatever he wanted. He was, like, the coach was telling the guy to go back on the field. Peyton Manning's like, "No, I don't want him on the field." It's like, holy crap. Like, you can't do that anymore. That's amazing. Did Aaron Rodgers do that? He can't do it, because if he does, then we'll have to listen to the whole, Aaron Rodgers isn't coachable, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't listen to anybody, and Aaron Rodgers blah, blah, blah. Yet Peyton Manning did that for the same thing for how many years? So I don't understand why everybody gets on Aaron Rodgers for that crap. When Peyton Manning did it for years, Tom Brady yells at guys on the sideline, but it's Aaron Rodgers who's not a good leader. I don't know. That's a totally different thing that I went off on a tangent about. What I'm saying is, Rodgers has certain guys that he trusts, right? He trusts Geronimo. He trusts Devontae. And that was the problem when Devontae wasn't in the game. He didn't know what to do or who to go to, or there was nobody to trust. And something is going to have to change, because if Devontae goes down again, they've got nobody that he's willing to throw the ball to. And then it's going to be just a mess.
I got somebody.
Kumro!
Well, yeah, but he's got to get that shoulder fit. He's got to get that shoulder injury out of the way. But no, Bob Tonyan, man, give me some Bobby Tonyan. That dude will catch the ball. Love that guy. God. Anyway, you talk about this stuff with Aaron Rodgers, and that is something that on a future episode we can really delve into, because, yeah, I got a lot to say about that too, and I'll give people kind of the whole background of my thoughts. But you're right. You're right. I think there's a lot of unfair scrutiny on him, and people take things the wrong way quite a bit, and there's different goggles or glasses people look through when they look at stuff he does versus other high-profile quarterbacks, which is pretty annoying. But, I have to say about this episode, I think has been therapeutic for me. So maybe it's therapeutic for some of the other Packer fans as well. They were still lingering after that last loss and how difficult it was and all of that with the Eagles. But I do feel better. I feel better talking through some of this stuff, getting some of it out. Hopefully that you feel that way too, Ben.
No.
Okay. Well, at least I feel better. Hopefully a couple other people out there feel better too. All right. I am excited about the next game because it's against the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys. Do you think before you say anything, I have to ask you, how much do you think the Dallas Cowboys hate the Packers? And the Cowboys fans, not the Cowboys themselves, but the Cowboys fans, how much do they hate the Packers and Aaron Rodgers? Because they have just crushed them. They have crushed them so many times in the last couple of years. It's unbelievable.
That's what I was going to say. I think they hate Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers owns that stadium. They won the Super Bowl there. They got how many big plays down there? The big pass to Cook in the on the sideline, which led to knocking the Cowboys out of the playoffs a couple of years back. There's many times where Cowboys fans just want to, pull their hair out of their head because Aaron Rodgers has stole victory from them right at the end. Or, he won the Super Bowl in their stadium. This one is going to be tough. I'm not expecting them to win this one. I'm expecting them to be 3-2 after this game. Both Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott are having great years this year. It's not just the running game, and then like last year where Dak was kind of not looking so hot. This year, Dak is on fire. Not only that, they got Randall Cobb now. Maybe that'll, put a little fire under him. And he might not know much about the LaFleur offense, but he does know a little bit about the Pettis defense from last season. He does have one season of that with them, with the Packers watching that, which could help the Cowboys out a little bit. It could be a blowout where the Packers just can't do anything. Because even the Dallas' defense got a whole lot of playmakers on it, and they are fast, and they move to the ball, and they're playing on their surface, a fast surface. Troy Aikman's going to be calling the game with Joe Buck.
Aikman and Buck
so again. That's going to suck.
Oh, God.
Joe Buck, you're going to hear, and it's caught. It's caught. It's caught. Or whatever he says. I don't know. It's really bad. And then Aikman will just, talk smack about the Packers and blah, blah, blah. So I'm not probably going to turn the sound off for that part, but for that game, but I'll watch it because it should be on TV here in Minnesota, I hope.
You're right. I mean, Dak Prescott has shown, first of all, he played his cards right because he held off on signing any extension, and now he keeps playing well, and they're going to have to pony up more money to keep him. So good for him. But he's been playing really well. And he's torched the Packers in the past too. Don't get me wrong. He's lit them up. He's made them look real bad. Of course, that was when almost everybody that was decent could make them look bad. And we're hoping that, I don't know if we have a really good sense of how good this Packer pass defense is or can be, although we think that it is pretty good. So hopefully between Alexander and King and Savage kind of plays better, and then the pass rush is getting there, it makes it more difficult than it has been in past years for him. But if they've got the run game going, that's a very good offensive line. The Packers are going to have to dig deep to compete in this one and to make it something. Now, the other part is you hope that there's just a little bit of psyche advantage in there because they beat them so many times in that stadium and huge games, huge wins. And like you said, I know Cowboys fans, it's in their head, man. Aaron Rodgers comes to town and they're just waiting for the collapse, or they're waiting for the play that he makes that puts the Packers on top or over the top. We suffered through all those terrible 90s episodes with the Cowboys, and then the Packers have owned them now recently, and it's fun. And even though we have some cousins that are fans of the Cowboys and we feel bad for them, it's still very nice. Those are some of my most exciting wins that I've celebrated for the Packers in recent years have been against the Cowboys.
Yeah, even Eddie Lacy made me like him one time.
Oh, that happened too. That's right. Oh man, that was awesome. That's right. The Matt Flynn,
Fatty Useless Lacy. I actually liked them for one game.
Oh my gosh,
that was the Cowboys game when they came back and won it.
That's right.
Who's the quarterback in that game?
Matt Flynn.
Oh, was Matt Flynn?
Yeah.
But that was his second stint back after he already got signed by the Seahawks and cut, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or what? Yeah. Okay.
Yep. That game, I was watching at home by myself. My wife was working, and my two kids, I was home watching my two kids. And they were old enough at that point to recognize what I was doing. I was watching football, and I was watching that game. And it was a very sad first half. Most of the time when I watch football, my kids are nowhere near me, okay, because they have zero interest in football. But
yep, mine have zero interest as well.
Okay, fantastic. So anyway, my kids were in the same room as me, and they're watching, and they weren't watching football, but in the second half of that comeback, they weren't watching football. They were watching me. And they were actually excited because I was so excited. They weren't excited at all about the football. They were just thought it was awesome how excited I was. And I remember when they scored the tying touchdown or finally took the lead in that second half of that game, I got up and I was just like, I jumped off the couch and I was like, Packers! And my son could not stop laughing. He thought it was the greatest thing ever. I remember that about that particular comeback. It was fun.
Dude, you just woke him up now. He's probably sleeping.
Probably woke up everybody.
I know. What the heck are you doing, man?
I don't know. I was just excited, man. I'm reliving. It was exciting. I love the 2016 playoff win. That was so fun. And then the 2017 game, fun. The Cowboys, we've had a lot of fun at your expense, and I hope we get one more coming up next week, baby. All right, Brother Ben. Long one this week, but I feel better. Hopefully, maybe you'll feel better too. If the Packers can go down to Jerry World and make Jerry sweat another one and lose again. Because you got to love those post-game press conferences with Jerry Jones after when he loses to the Packers. It's good stuff, man. It's so good. Sorry, Danielle and Nicole and Aunt Janelle, but we want the Cowboys to go down again to our Packers one more time.
That's right.
It's not their fault. They were born there. They live there. It's not their fault they're Cowboys fans.
They don't know any better.
It just is. All right, bro. We love you, and we'll talk to you again next week.
All right. Hopefully it's 4-1.
Still hold me, did I treat you? Got to find